Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about understanding that for the novice lifter, we don't need to think in separate terms of size versus strength. There's a reason a lot of novice 5x5 programs have been very successful, and really the only flaw in any of them is probably just the lack of arm work. In other words, every single time that you do see someone who runs one of those basic barbell programs, whether it's starting strength or strong lifts, the only complaint you then see later from people, well, their arms didn't grow very much. And therefore, some people then look at it and say, oh, those things are not good for size. When in reality, their legs, chest, back, everything else got a lot bigger. So what I would almost suggest to people, and this was more or less the idea when I put out my, in 2012, my Ice Cream Fitness 5x5, was that basic idea that we know that those fives, we know those big exercises will maximize overall hypertrophy in a novice lifter. That really shouldn't be subject for debate. It really shouldn't, as long as they can learn decent form. Now, if they're not squatting correctly, pulling correctly, any of that, okay, all right, there's a point for that. But if their form looks anything close to what you see me demonstrating in this video on those lifts, they'll be fine. Okay? They will be fine. And the issue is that really you've got to get the strength up really fast at a novice. And what I mean is most of your initial strength gains are neural drive, and you have to get through the neural adaptations the first few weeks before you'll start to see real muscle growth in anyone. So keep that in mind. So with novice lifters, the more quickly we can get through those neural strength adaptations, the faster they can start gaining muscle. Okay, because your body will try to adapt with the other first. The human body is resistant to gaining muscle. This is unfortunate. As a species, we're resistant to gaining muscle or even high levels of strength. We just are. And it has to do with the fact that as a species, we tend to be very, very slow twitch dominant. We're more refined motor unit, less just straight power. So humans, unless we train at a very, very high level as strength athletes, we're pound for pound weaker than most other mammals. Okay? We can run them down long distance. So it's something, a little factoid people are not aware of. Go back to in fit humans who were active, tribal type life, they can run down a horse in a field. That's how they captured the first horses. There's some evidence of this, because we know that given a long enough open plain, a group of humans can run down a horse. They won't do it in the first 20 miles, but the horse will tire before the humans will, and they will catch it eventually in the long game. So put that in perspective. We're really an endurance-based species. And also we are pretty much built to survive famines. We're built to survive ice ages, right? Humans who weren't all died out. So accordingly, we don't like to gain muscle, right? So our body will try to make other adaptations first. So that's one reason as a novice, you see those really, really fast strength gains early on, right? We'll see those massive strength gains really early. And then the muscle will start stacking on. And this is why so many of these programs are successful, is because, we get in, we do the big movements that can recruit the most muscle fibers, do slightly lower reps, because fives aren't particularly heavy, but it's enough to really get to those neural adaptations, get through that stuff, right? You can get through it much quicker that way than you can with higher reps, smaller movements, and then we can get over to where the body just says, okay, look, I'll start gaining some muscle. This is, again, the observation of many coaches over the decades. The downside, though, is that people become too purist in this, and they'll say the thing, well, all we need is, a squat, bench, deadlift in a row or whatever. Well, here's the issue. As a culture, we have decided that arms are one of the biggest metrics of how much muscle a person is carrying. It's ironic because the biceps are way smaller than all these other muscles. Right? Way less muscle fibers in them. Triceps aren't, but biceps are. But those sort of programs, if they don't have any curling, they do neglect the biceps. They do. And I would almost say to anyone, if you don't want to run one of my programs or whatever, fine, go run one of those barbell programs and throw some curls in. Even the original 5x5, it skipped them in the novice phase, and then they started adding lat and bicep work for that, the next phase, like the old school Reg Park one. But I would say to people, yeah, do some curls. It's funny because you used to see Mark Ripto used to be very resistant to that with his starting strength stuff. Oh, you don't need curls, and he's like, but if you're going to do curls, do them this way. And he actually did have good advice on that. But he finally got to a point to where I saw him in a lecture once. It was kind of funny, to where he goes, fine, if you want to do some curls, do some curls. And I would come back over to the point and say, no, go ahead and just do some curls. Not even if you want to do curls. No, if you guys want to look big, even if you're going to run a basic barbell program, you should probably do some curls. Now, you should work on actually curling correctly. Okay? You should work on actually curling correctly. You should probably use a full range of motion. Right? Lock them out at the bottom. Quit turning the top into a wrist curl, where you unload the biceps. But the way you saw me do them in this video, pretty reasonable. You could do that. Right? And if you do those things, then guess what? All of a sudden, this magical, those programs don't make you big. Then all of a sudden, novices get great results, and everyone's like, oh, I got a lot bigger, like noticeably bigger. Because you don't notice the other muscle. When you're looking in the mirror, you don't see your back. You don't see your legs as much. What are you going to notice in the mirror? Chest, shoulders, and biceps. So when people are looking in the mirror and then people are trying to decide if they've gained muscle or not, if any of those three muscles are lacking, you're going to feel like you're not gaining muscle. Okay? Even though you may have gained tons, something as simple as adding some curls to any basic novice barbell program, it actually will do what you want. And that's one of the things I did early on with that. And someone asked me, well, why are they in there? I'm like, so that novices will actually run it. If you don't give them their curls, they're not going to buy into your program. And that's a flaw a lot of the people who wrote these sort of systems at. They didn't realize that you better add some curls. Even if you don't think they're necessary, and you're like, it's set the biceps, just such an unimportant small muscle, you better put some curls in that program, or the young guys they're not going to run it. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having some big biceps. Okay? There's nothing in the world wrong with saying, hey, I'd like to add an inch or two to my biceps. Like, there's no reason to be against it, guys. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.